Hey Ryan, I saw an article this morning saying colon cancer is hitting guys in their 20s and 30s now. Is that actually happening or is the news just fear mongering?
It is absolutely happening, David, and I see it in the ER much more frequently than you would think. It is honestly terrifying, but the part they usually leave out of those articles is that a huge percentage of these cases are completely preventable.
Preventable how? Like exercising more or cutting out red meat?
Those help, but the absolute biggest game changer is actually something most Americans completely ignore. I am actually about to record a video on this exact topic, breaking down the one thing that acts like a literal shield for your gut. You want to listen in?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Tell me what I need to do.
All right, let us get into it. So, colon cancer is one of the most common cancers in the world, and really concerningly, it is now rising incredibly fast in younger people right here in the US. But it is also one of the few cancers where what you put on your plate every single day has a real and powerful say in whether you actually develop it. In fact, the latest evidence suggests that close to half of all colon cancers could be prevented through a solid diet, maintaining a healthy weight, and staying physically active. And when you dig into which single food choice protects your colon the most, it comes down to one thing above all others, and that is fiber. Fiber is about the closest thing that we have to a natural shield for your gut, and the vast majority of us living on a standard American diet are eating nowhere near enough of it. So today, I am going to explain exactly how fiber protects your colon and large intestine, what the scientific research actually shows, and the best everyday foods that you can eat to get plenty of this fiber onto your plate. For anybody who has not come across me before, my name is Dr. Ryan. I am an emergency medicine doctor here in the US, and I have spent the last 10 years seeing the tragic problems that the right daily habits could have completely prevented, which is exactly why I make these videos. And if you learned something valuable today, then the absolute best thing that you can do is to like, subscribe, and share this video. All of those actions are completely free, and it helps me out so much to keep making this educational content for you. So let us carry on with the rest of the information. Why exactly is fiber so insanely powerful for your gut health? Well, fiber is the part of plant foods that your body physically cannot break down and absorb. So rather than being digested in your stomach or small intestine, it passes all the way down into your large intestine or colon, and that is where the real magic happens. As it works its way through your large intestine, all the way through your digestive system, it bulks up your stool, and it helps everything move through much more efficiently. This means anything potentially harmful in your food spends far less time sitting there pressed up against the delicate lining of your colon. It also acts like a sponge, soaking up water and diluting any cancer, causing substances inside your gut from the things that you eat. So they are far less concentrated against those vulnerable colon cells. But the most remarkable thing fiber does actually goes way beyond just your own human body, because it feeds the trillions of bacteria living inside your gut microbiome. And fiber is without a doubt their absolute favorite food. So when you eat something that contains a lot of fiber and it reaches your gut bacteria, what happens is that those little microbes ferment that fiber, and in the process they produce a family of remarkable tiny molecules called short-chain fatty acids. The absolute most important one of these is called butyrate. Now, butyrate is the preferred fuel source for the cells lining your colon. So it quite literally feeds and nourishes the exact tissue where colon cancer would otherwise try to begin. On top of that, it helps to drastically calm the levels of inflammation in your gut wall, and it keeps your gut barrier highly strong and well sealed, preventing leaky gut. And there is actually growing evidence, and I will drop some links in the description below for you to check out, showing that these short-chain fatty acids travel out into the rest of your body and help to train your immune system. That includes the specific immune cells whose entire job is to literally patrol, find, and destroy abnormal, potentially cancerous cells before they can grow. So it is not just working locally inside your gut. These benefits travel to literally every part of your body. Now, a lot of this complex mechanism is still being figured out by scientists, so I do not want to overstate it too much, but the broad picture is remarkably clear. A well-fed gut microbiome produces compounds that keep your colon healthier and far better defended against the sort of cancer-causing agents that eventually lead to colon cancer down the line. And the evidence behind all of this is quite literally some of the absolute strongest that we have in the entire field of nutrition science. One of the largest data analyses ever done, pulling together almost 2 million people, yes, you heard that correctly, 2 million individuals, found that for every 10 grams of fiber somebody added to their daily diet, their overall risk of colon cancer fell by roughly 10%. And that baseline protection was seen to be the absolute strongest when the fiber came from whole grains. Organizations focusing on cancer research now consider whole grains heavily protective against colon cancer, suggesting around 3 solid servings a day as a highly sensible amount to be aiming for in a standard diet. When a scientific finding turns up this reliably across millions of people and decades of peer-reviewed research, and it sits right on top of a clear biological mechanism, it is about as trustworthy as nutrition science is ever going to get. So looking at our grocery store foods, we basically have 2 main types of fiber, and the simple, straightforward message is that you want plenty of both of those in your kitchen. The first one is the very coarse roughage type of fiber that we find in the skins of fruit and vegetables, in whole grains, and in nuts and seeds. This is mainly what bulks out your stool and keeps everything moving through you on a regular healthy schedule. The second type of fiber is the fermentable type that your gut bacteria absolutely feasts upon. And you will find this type in things like kidney beans, lentils, onions, garlic, slightly underripe green bananas, to mushrooms, and the skins of blueberries and other berries. Helpfully though, real whole plant foods tend to naturally give you a generous mix of both of these types at the exact same time. So you do not need to be overthinking it or tracking exactly how much of each specific type you are getting. If you just eat plenty of whole plants, then you are absolutely getting great amounts of both of them. But if I had a nutritional crown to hand out on behalf of your colon, I would definitely give it to foods like lentils, black beans, pinto beans, and chickpeas, but also fantastic whole grains like oats, barley, and quinoa. All of those foods are just tremendously good for your long-term health. And something that I mentioned in another video a couple of days ago, a really clever trick here, a bit of a biohacking bonus, is to try and get more resistant starch into your daily diet as well. So if you eat potatoes, white rice, and pasta, then cooking them thoroughly first, cooling them down in the fridge overnight, and then either reheating them the next day or just eating them cold, turns a good portion of the normal starch in those foods into a specialized form that your gut bacteria really go crazy for, which is called resistant starch. And remember, the more variety of different plant foods that you eat across the week, the wider the range of helpful bacteria species that you actively feed. So you always want to try and aim to get as many different colors and types of plants onto your plate every single time you sit down to eat. Now, as for how much fiber you actually need per day, a highly sensible daily target for most adults is somewhere around 25 to 40 grams of fiber a day. Or to put it into another perspective, roughly 14 grams for every 1,000 calories that you eat as a strict minimum. But again, I want to be super clear here. This is just a baseline minimum. This is not the ultimate limit. So if you can comfortably eat much more than that, then all the better. Just go for it. I personally probably eat around 50 or 60 grams of fiber every day if I actually had to sit down and calculate it out. And the reason I do this is because the colon protection, according to the long-term research, seems to keep steadily climbing the more fiber you manage to eat. The massive problem, though, is that here in America, the average person is getting barely half of even that absolute minimum, which leaves an awful lot of colons and large intestines completely unprotected and vulnerable. So if you can try and actively add an extra serving of beans or lentils or chickpeas here and there, swap out your standard white sandwich bread for whole grain options or genuine fermented sourdough if you can find it. To put all of this into a real-world perspective, if you have a bowl of oatmeal in the morning and scatter some mixed berries and chia seeds on top of that, and then have a hearty portion of lentils with your lunch, and then some black beans or mixed veggies with dinner, and maybe a handful of almonds as a quick snack dotted throughout the day, that routine will get most people to that target without much effort at all. And you really honestly do not need to buy any sort of expensive, fancy fiber powder or synthetic supplements to manage this, because real, actual grocery store food does the job far better. And it does that crucial job alongside all of the natural vitamins, minerals, and plant compounds that nature has already packaged up right alongside the fiber. That is something that those expensive processed supplements will absolutely never give you. So if there is one massive change to take away from watching this video, it is obviously to get more natural fiber from more real whole plant foods as often as you possibly can, because it might just be the absolute simplest and most powerful daily thing that you can do to protect your colon for the rest of your life. Part of the main reason colon cancer is turning up in younger guys and girls every time we look at this research is that modern American diets have completely stripped out so much of this essential fiber and replaced it with heavily refined, ultra-processed fast food. And your gut bacteria end up paying the ultimate price for that convenience. Remember, the power is quite literally in your own hands here. You have the total ability to choose what goes onto your plate 3 times a day. So start by adding just a little more fiber as soon as you next eat a meal. Whether that is grabbing a handful of walnuts or making a quick black bean salad, which I absolutely love and eat every single week, or just eating anything that contains a lot of natural crunch and comes straight from whole plant foods, because it is undeniably one of the cheapest, simplest, and most reliable defenses that we currently have against colon cancer. Remember, proactively preventing colon cancer is infinitely better than having to go through treating it once it develops. So I really hope that video was useful for you. It is clearly a super simple lifestyle change that most people can make without breaking the bank. But according to the overwhelming scientific research, and please do take a read through the studies after this video if you want to learn a bit more, it is one of the most powerful things that we can do.